FEMA isn't going to issue a countdown. If a lockdown returns, the signs won't come through official news. They'll start on the shelves, empty racks where the rice used to be. Aisles cleared out of cooking oil before the public even knows what's coming. That's how it happened last time, and this time it'll move faster, because the supply chain is weaker, because the prices are already inflated, and because people still remember 2020. So here's what vanishes first, not according to fear, but according to freight records, consumer reports, and insider data from bulk warehouse managers. These are the 8 items you need to grab before the next disruption triggers a second wave of shortages, because if history repeats itself, you'll walk in and see nothing but empty steel and silence. Let's begin. If this helps you stay ahead, consider subscribing for more quiet survival insights. Number 1. Cooking oil, especially vegetable and canola oil. The very first item that disappears and almost no one notices until it's too late is cooking oil. It's not dramatic like toilet paper or bottled water. There are no crowds fighting over it. But the disappearance is quiet, fast, and complete. In any lockdown scenario, especially one triggered by national emergency declarations or sudden transport disruptions, cooking oil vanishes faster than nearly any other food item. Why? Because it's not just for frying. It's used in everything from baking to canned food processing, even in survival rations and packaged military meals. In 2020, major suppliers like Cargill and ADM saw demand for bulk oil spike by more than 400% in less than 2 weeks. Shelves were cleared in both high-income and low-income areas, and many people didn't even realize it was gone until they reached for it 2 weeks later. And unlike rice or flour, cooking oil isn't easy to replace. It has a short shelf life. It requires specific processing and packaging. And it doesn't have a 5-year storage version sitting in prepper warehouses. The reason this becomes a problem during lockdown isn't just panic buying, it's logistics. Oil is bulky, heavy, and highly regulated during transport. If border restrictions tighten or trucking slows down, oil gets deprioritized. It's too difficult to move. And once restaurants, bakeries, and institutional kitchens start buying in panic, retail shelves get hit next. You'll walk into the store, and the entire section will be gone. Not just one brand, the whole aisle. Then come the fake substitutes, overpriced tiny bottles, or imported blends of questionable quality, and you'll notice the prices doubling overnight. Most households don't stock more than 1 or 2 bottles at a time, and that's what makes this item so dangerous to ignore. Without it, basic meals become almost impossible. You can't saute, you can't fry, and you can't bake. It becomes the missing ingredient in everything, but it's already gone. If you've got space in your pantry, make sure at least 2 to 3 sealed bottles of cooking oil are there. Choose ones with the longest shelf life like refined canola, sunflower, or soybean. Store them upright in a dark, cool cabinet. Because when the lockdown hits, this is one of the first shelves that empties, and it stays that way for weeks. Number 2, white rice, especially 10-20 pounds bulk bags. There's a reason rice is the backbone of every emergency food plan. It's cheap, calorie-dense, and shelf-stable for decades when stored correctly. But in a lockdown, it's not just popular. It's the first food to disappear in bulk, especially the 10, 15, and 20-pound bags. Not the little boxes, not the flavored packs. The large sacks that sit at the bottom of the shelf, gone within hours. The logic is simple. One bag feeds a family for weeks. Preppers know it. Refugees rely on it. FEMA stocks it. And during any sign of national disruption, it vanishes faster than bread or meat. During the early days of the 2020 shutdowns, Walmart's inventory reports showed that bulk rice sold out in less than 48 hours across multiple regions, and that was before lockdowns even began. By the time shelves were restocked, suppliers had already issued quantity limits. The real problem? Replacement isn't simple. You can't swap out white rice. Brown rice goes rancid faster. Quinoa is expensive. Pasta requires sauce and water. But white rice is neutral, universal, and fills stomachs, which is exactly why it's one of the first items to trigger panic buying. If a lockdown hits again, whether it's from civil unrest, fuel shortages, or a foreign supply chain freeze, the panic won't start on social media. It'll start when people walk into the store and see the rice section gutted. And this time, it could be worse. Global rice exports have been tightening. Countries like India, Myanmar, and Vietnam have already cut back on international shipments. And when that happens, local stores feel it immediately, especially in the US, where most retail chains rely on long-haul delivery systems. What people also forget, Rice isn't just food, it's security. It's a trade. It's the one item neighbors ask for when shelves go empty. When budgets tighten and supply chains break, rice becomes currency. So here's what you need to do. Buy in bulk now. Look for 10-20 pounds bags of jasmine, long grain, or parboiled white rice. Store them in mylar or plastic bins with oxygen absorbers. Keep them dry, keep them sealed, because when the lockdown starts, rice doesn't just run out, it stays out. And by the time it returns, the price will have doubled or worse. It'll be behind a rationed limit. Number 3, canned proteins, especially tuna, chicken, and Spam. When panic hits the food supply, people don't reach for nutrition guides, they reach for calories and shelf life. And in that moment, canned proteins become gold. Tuna, chicken, Spam, these small, overlooked cans are often the last thing people stock in normal life, but the first to vanish when uncertainty sets in. Unlike beans or soup, canned meat carries a psychological weight. It's survival food. It's what soldiers eat. It's what hurricanes demand. And when a lockdown looms, shelves that were fully stocked one day will be stripped clean the next. In the spring of 2020, Hormel Foods, the company behind Spam, reported a 70% spike in demand in just 3 weeks. Warehouse clubs like Sam's and Costco had to limit purchases. And in urban stores, the Spam section was emptied faster than bottled water. Why? Because meat is scarce in a crisis. Refrigerated options go bad. Frozen items become a liability in power outages. But canned protein? It sits, waits, and delivers. Whether it's packed in oil, water, or sauce, it offers fat, protein, and long-lasting fuel when your meal options collapse. What most people forget is how strategic these cans are. Tuna provides lean protein with omega-3s. Chicken can be mixed with pasta, rice, or eaten straight. Spam, as ridiculed as it is, delivers sodium-rich, calorie-dense meat that stores for years. And during lockdown, it's not just survivalists who hunt for them, it's parents. College students, low-income families, everyone is fighting to stretch meals for days without depending on refrigeration. Another reason these vanish fast? They're compact. A single trip to the store lets someone fill a whole cart with 2 weeks of meat, no freezer, no prep. It's plug-and-play food. That's rare in a crisis. But here's the warning. Supply chains for canned meats are fragile. Processing plants are slower. Packaging materials are outsourced. If global aluminum disruptions hit like we saw during energy crises, even the cans themselves become a bottleneck. You don't need hundreds, but you need enough. Build a simple stockpile of 6-8 cans of tuna in oil for longer satiety, 4-6 cans of canned chicken, 3-5 cans of Spam or corned beef. Store them in a cool space. Rotate every 6-9 months. And check expiration dates carefully, because when the meat aisle runs dry, and it will, these small cans become lifelines. And once they're gone, they stay gone. Number 4, powdered milk and shelf. Stable dairy. When panic spreads, people think of bread, water, and canned goods. But what they overlook and what runs out just as fast is dairy. Specifically, powdered milk and shelf-stable cartons of milk alternatives. Why? Because milk is one of the most heavily consumed daily use items in the Western diet. Families with children go through it faster than almost anything else. And when the cold chain fails, whether from power outages or transport delays, fresh milk becomes a liability. That's where powdered and long-life options step in and disappear. During the first lockdowns, stores reported a nationwide shortage of powdered milk within the first 10 days. It wasn't just panic, it was hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and emergency services buying in bulk. And once they grabbed what they needed, retail shelves stayed empty for weeks. Shelf-stable milk options like UHT cartons, almond, oat, soy, and dairy followed close behind. Even though they don't need refrigeration until opened, they're rarely stocked in volume. And once supply chains get hit, replenishment is slow. These aren't stocked in the same numbers as water or flour. They vanish, quietly and completely. There's also another layer to this. Powdered milk isn't just for drinking. It's used in baking. It's used in baby formula. It's used in instant mixes and emergency meal kits. When people realize they can't make pancakes, bread, or even coffee the way they're used to, they start grabbing whatever's left. And by that point, it's already too late. To stay ahead, keep a small reserve now before demand returns. Look for non-fat dry milk in sealed pouches or cans. Brands like Nestle, Peak, or Augustin Farms offer long shelf life options. For alternatives, go with UHT packaged oat or almond milk. They store for 6–12 months, require no refrigeration, and can be rotated like dry goods. Store them in a dark cabinet away from heat. Don't open them until absolutely needed. Because once people start noticing empty dairy shelves, the reaction is fast. Parents panic, prices jump, and milk becomes not just a convenience but a source of fear. In every food crisis, dairy is one of the first fragile systems to collapse, and it rarely recovers without long delays. Prepare now while it's still sitting on the bottom shelf, unnoticed. Number 5. Salt and seasonings, especially iodized salt and multi-spice blends. Salt doesn't make headlines, it doesn't spark panic, but when it's missing, you notice it in every single bite, and when it's gone from the shelves, it's almost always too late to fix. In a crisis, especially during lockdowns or transport freezes, salt and basic seasonings vanish without warning. Not because they're hard to produce, but because they're taken for granted until the shelves are already stripped. What makes salt different from other survival foods is its role in both flavor and preservation. You can eat plain rice, plain beans, even canned vegetables, but try doing it without salt for more than a few days. Morale drops, appetite fades, and even nutritious food starts to feel like punishment. And it's not just about taste. Salt is critical for electrolyte balance, food preservation, meat curing, fermentation, wound care in extreme cases. In ancient times, salt was currency. Entire trade routes were built around it. Armies carried it. Empires fought over it. And in modern prepping, it remains one of the most underrated, irreplaceable essentials. What most people don't realize is how quickly it disappears in emergency waves. In 2020, iodized table salt sold out in dozens of urban areas, not because of panic alone, but because people were suddenly cooking everything at home. Add to that the rise in baking, pickling, and emergency food storage, and shelves stayed empty for weeks. Seasonings follow close behind. Garlic powder, black pepper, chili flakes, anything that adds heat, comfort, or familiarity becomes scarce fast. People who've never cooked before suddenly want flavor, and those who rely on it daily grab extras in fear of just in case. To prepare smartly, stock 6–10 pounds of iodized table salt for food and health, 1–2 pounds of kosher or pickling salt for preservation, blended seasonings like Italian mix, Cajun, or taco spice, anything you'll actually use. Keep them in airtight containers. Store in cool, dry places away from moisture. Salt lasts forever when sealed. It's not about spoilage. It's about supply chain choke points. And the second there's news of transport restrictions or port slowdowns, these items will vanish silently. You won't see people fighting over salt, but you'll feel its absence in every bland bite. And by then, it'll be too late to get it back. Number 6. Instant noodles and ramen bricks. Cheap, compact, calorie-dense. And when a crisis hits, they're gone. Instant noodles may not seem like survival food, but they're one of the fastest vanishing items in any lockdown. Why? Because they hit the perfect storm of affordability, shelf life, and emotional comfort. You're not just eating to survive, you're eating to cope. And when people are scared, broke, or trapped indoors, they don't reach for raw lentils. They reach for hot, salty fast food, something they can boil in 2 minutes and hand to a hungry child. That's exactly what ramen delivers and exactly why it disappears first. In the first 3 weeks of the 2020 shutdowns, top brands like Maruchan and Nissin reported a 30–40% surge in demand globally. Stores in the US couldn't restock fast enough. Even dollar stores ran dry. People grabbed full boxes, 24 packs at a time, not out of greed, but necessity. One box fed a family for a week, and for many, it was the only hot food they could afford. But the real problem isn't demand, it's the supply chain behind it. Instant noodles rely on imported wheat, palm oil, seasoning blends, and plastic packaging, all of which are vulnerable to international shipping delays. Ports close, truckers strike, prices of palm oil spike, and suddenly, that 50-cent packet becomes scarce, then inflated, then completely unavailable. People don't just eat ramen plain. They stretch it, add canned chicken, frozen veggies, leftover meat. In survival situations, it becomes a base food, not a snack. You can live on it for days. You can boil it with bouillon cubes. You can crumble it over rice. Its versatility is unmatched for the price. And that's why it's one of the first signs that lockdown panic is beginning. When the ramen bricks vanish, it means the quiet rush has started, that families are preparing for weeks without paychecks, schools, or access to restaurants. That they're building their comfort meals now while the shelves are still intact. If you're planning for disruptions, don't overlook this item just because it's cheap. Stock 2-3 boxes of your preferred brand. Store them in a dry space. Rotate every 6 months. The shelf life runs 1-2 years, but demand makes them disappear far earlier than expiration dates ever arrive. Because once people realize they need fast food that doesn't require a microwave, doesn't need refrigeration, and costs less than $1, they'll buy it all, and they won't leave any for you. Number 7. Peanut butter and shelf. Stable nut spreads. In a crisis, protein becomes currency, and one of the most overlooked yet powerful protein sources on any grocery shelf is peanut butter. It doesn't need refrigeration. It doesn't require cooking. It lasts over a year without spoiling, and it delivers fat, calories, and comfort in a single spoonful. That's why during every supply chain panic, peanut butter isn't just bought, it's emptied out completely. In early 2020, stores reported peanut butter flying off shelves faster than even pasta. Parents were buying 6 jars at a time, not just because kids love it, but because it's one of the only foods that can be eaten cold, straight from the jar, and still provide a full meal's worth of energy. But what most people don't realize is how fragile that supply chain actually is. Peanut crops are regional, processing is centralized, and when transportation freezes or factory workers walk out production halts, add in the demand shock during lockdown, and prices spike quickly. That $2 jar becomes $4, then it's out of stock entirely. And peanut butter isn't just eaten as is. It's mixed into oatmeal, spread onto crackers, added to smoothies. In a low-cook or no-cook survival diet, it becomes a go-to fallback meal, fast, filling, and familiar. Now, here's the danger. It's often one of the last things people think to buy until everything else is gone. Then, when the canned meats and frozen meals have vanished, people rush to the spreads aisle. By then, there are limits. The shelves are bare, and all that's left are expensive alternatives, almond, cashew, or flavor-added versions with sugar and low fat. To prepare now, stock 3-5 jars of natural or shelf. Stable peanut butter, smooth, lasts longer than chunky. Rotate every 9-12 months. Store in a cool, dark place with a tight seal. If you have allergies, sunflower seed butter or powdered peanut butter are solid backups, but whatever version you choose, don't underestimate this item. Because when you can't afford meat, when the power is out, when the kids are hungry and there's no stove, this becomes the fallback. It's not glamorous. But in the real world, survival isn't glamorous. It's practical, and peanut butter is as practical as it gets. Number 8, toilet paper, the first non-food to disappear. There's one last item that vanishes without much warning, and when it's gone, people don't just get uncomfortable, they get desperate. I'm talking about toilet paper. It's not food, it's not water, but it's one of the first products to disappear in every panic event, not because it's essential to survival, but because it's essential to dignity. And when people feel panic in the air, they grab the items that make them feel human. In 2020, shelves were stripped in 48 hours. Warehouses couldn't restock fast enough. Entire pallets were gone before they even hit the floor. And the most shocking part? Most people didn't hoard it because they needed dozens of rolls. They bought extra because they were afraid they might not get a second chance. That fear spreads faster than any virus. It's visual. When people see others grabbing something in bulk, they follow. And unlike water or canned food, there's no substitute for this product that makes daily life feel remotely normal. In long-term emergencies, hygiene becomes one of the first silent battles families face. If you've never had to go without toilet paper for even a day, you don't realize how disruptive it is. It affects mental health. It affects relationships. It creates tension, especially in homes with children or elderly family members. The government won't issue warnings for this. FEMA doesn't hand it out in emergency rations. And stores don't reserve it for those who need it most. It's first come, first serve. And if you're not ahead of the panic, you're stuck improvising with whatever's left. During the 2020 wave, people turned to napkins, tissues, even newspapers. But plumbing systems weren't built for that, and countless homes faced backup and damage from improvised solutions. All because a simple paper product disappeared overnight. The smart move isn't to panic buy. It's to quietly build a 2-3 month supply, and store it dry, upright, and out of sunlight. Choose compact packs, not oversized value bundles that waste space. You don't need to fill a closet. You just need enough to stay calm when shelves run empty again, because they will. And this time, the restock might take even longer. Logistics are tighter, fuel costs are higher, and most suppliers are operating on smaller inventories than before. If you think this item won't matter in a survival scenario, wait until it's gone. Then you'll realize Some of the most important products aren't the ones you eat, they're the ones that keep your home feeling like a home. If there's one truth every crisis reveals, it's this: the first items to vanish are never the ones you expect. While the world argues on the news and scrolls headlines on their phones, it's the quiet panic inside grocery stores that changes everything. The shelves don't go empty because of doomsday preppers. They go empty because regular families, the ones who waited just a little too long, all show up at once. And by the time they realize what's missing, it's already gone. The items we just covered aren't luxury goods. They're not rare imports or complicated meals. They're the backbone of daily life, and without them, comfort collapses fast. You won't hear FEMA talk about ramen shortages. You won't get alerts when salt becomes limited, but when it happens, you'll feel it in your stomach, in your home, and in your daily routine. This isn't about fear. It's about staying 1 week ahead, not 1 week late. If this video helped you think more clearly or prepared you even just a little, then do one thing right now. Subscribe to the channel. It tells the algorithm you want this kind of information, and it helps us keep making more of it. And if you know someone who still thinks everything will be fine, share this video with them, quietly, before it's too late.